This is episode 79 of the Gold Squadron podcast. I'm your host, Dio Morales, and today I am joined by William, permission to jump in an X-Wing and blow something up Hagewood.
Permission granted.
And Marcel, respect my authority.
Gotta say it
Manzano.
right. Respect my authority.
Fantastic. So today, super long episode title just because we're talking about a lot of different things today. So it's the new tournament rules and the end of fortressing. Also, the Coruscant primer. All the things we're talking about today. But yeah, so we'll be hitting that up today. Some of our upcoming live streams this Wednesday. We have our league night streams. We do them every Wednesday from 5 o'clock to about 11:30 when my computer doesn't explode, which it did last Wednesday. So I'm sorry if you were watching
I know it
last
happened
Wednesday.
right during my Dengar.
I
brought Dengar and Fen.
I know.
Vanguard.
I know.
I mean, come on, talking about bringing old school, and I actually won that one like 120.
That's what
you go and crash on me. My God.
Like, it wasn't me. It was this machine right here. The one that is broadcasting us right now just decided to be like, I'm good.
All right. So before you go on with the rest, just people out there, Dengar still works. It's still a thing.
Yeah, so hopefully that doesn't happen this Wednesday. I think I fixed the bug that was giving us issues. So we'll find out tonight, right? We're streaming tonight. Hopefully nothing happens. And we have the Coruscant Invitational. We'll be streaming this upcoming weekend, both Saturday and Sunday. We'll be bringing you basically up until the top 4, and assuming FFG doesn't kick us out. So we'll. That's the plan. We'll see how that goes. And somebody's giving me some bad background. I don't know who that is. That sounded like Marcel. Sounded like Marcel. Turn down your gain a little bit. And
so that was me on mute. So you'll edit this out. Gain up down.
No. I won't because I don't have time this week. Down. Give me a check 1 2. Actually, sit there in complete silence. That's really what I need. Okay, that sounds fine. Okay, good. And then
Are you saying I sound good when I'm quiet?
Yep.
That sounds a little.
Hey, don't hate. Participate. And we have the Crossroads Classic happening the weekend after next. That's in Indiana. That one's going to be an informal stream where, because I'm going to be playing in that one. I don't get to play in as many events as I would like to. I know it seems like I'm at all these events. It's because I am, but I don't play in all of them. Very few of them, actually. So, Crossroads is one that I would have gone to if I wasn't doing all the streaming stuff. So, I'll be playing in that one. And we'll have commentary once everybody who is part of the Gold Squadron podcast is knocked out. Once whoever's the first to fall has to commentate. That's the rule. And before we go too far, I need to give some shout-outs to some new patrons. We got Steven Rupels, Milker, Gren, Isaac, Englart, Steven Taraz, Thomas Early, Sabers54, Bart, Ellison, and Lukas Pochny. Oh man, these Polish names. Pocznizny. P-O-C-Z-E with a tail and S-N-Y. There you go. And the reason why this is such a huge deal is we are creeping up on our goal of having 400 patrons, and if we reach that goal, we're going to take the stream international. And no lie, guys, this week, I was reached, since we talked about it last week, I've had people from 5 different countries reach out to us. I'm like, hey, you guys want to come to us? You know, we're being propositioned now. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who's offering the best stuff already?
Well, I
Any
mean,
sweet deals?
we don't have any deals on the table. I haven't even thought about doing that. Like, what can you offer me? We'll see. So we've had somebody from Peru, the UK, Poland, Australia, and Canada reach out to us and be like, you should come here. I'll be completely honest. I think out of that list, Canada, you're probably not making the cut because that's not in the spirit of what I was trying to go for.
Yeah, you said overseas,
Yeah.
not over border.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see. I would consider Mexico. I would consider because that's like pretty far to at least where we are right now.
Well, we've never been. I mean, we've been to Canada
Yeah,
a lot. Yeah.
exactly. So we'll see. But again, once we reach that goal, then we'll begin a process. I guess we're gonna put out some bids. Be like, all right, countries, what are some events happening? Whose couches can I sleep on? Let's figure this out. And we'll get it done. But I'm super excited. Everybody who reached out to me was legitimately really excited that we're going to be doing this, and you know, we'll see what happens there. But let's get into our main content. Let's get this going. Will, what are we talking about first?
The new tournament rules just dropped,
There we go.
exclusive to the Coruscant invitees. But I'm sure they'll be posted within this week to the website.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So, we're gonna put the link in the description. Again, we don't know when they will actually release this publicly, but all the podcasts have been putting it out there. So, hey guys, take a look at this because they haven't put it up yet. I don't know. I don't know why, but it's not officially up yet. Even though it is retroactively um,
Effective.
effective till yesterday, the first. So. Whatevs. So we're gonna go over some of not necessarily the big. There's some big changes, some new things, but some of the things that I think are really important. There's a lot of information in here, so if we don't mention something, it's not because we thought it wasn't important. It's just because we have a limited amount of time and we have some of the bigger things we want to spend some time on. So
Or we're just lazy and we missed it.
Speak for yourself, sir. All right, we're going to make this a little bit bigger so that's a little easier to see there. Alrighty. So our first one, I'll go ahead and take it. Tiebreakers have been clarified for second edition tournaments, and they've said essentially MOV is still the top tiebreaker, which I'm sure some people are a little bit like, because there's a lot of bad feels around MOV and points lockering and all that, but that's how it sticks. Then we're followed by strength of schedule, and then this new bullet that they've added here is the random category. It's like, all right, if MOV and strength of schedule line up, then it's essentially a coin flip. Just we'll let the
I
computer
actually
decide.
called it. I said rock, paper, scissors.
Correct.
It's rock, paper, scissors.
Yep.
Now, seriously, does the marshal get to decide the tiebreaker at that point?
No,
If he says get down and wrestle, I mean you got to get down and wrestle. Is that
well,
where we're at?
the way that it's worded here, okay, I'll go ahead and zoom in here. The way it's worded, it says random. If any players are still tied after all other tiebreakers have been applied, then those players are ranked in a random order below any players already ranked in the group.
What if I randomly like you better than I like the other guy?
That would be considered collusion, and that would be against the rules. No collusion. You may not. You may not. Well, Marcel, go ahead and take the next one here.
Legal products. You can still use old templates without lines for everything except when you actually need a line. So that's when you're overlapping the ship and you have to do the train tracks, when you do talon rolls, when you do barrel rolls. I think those are pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what will come out in the future, but as of right now, that's
Yeah,
that's
so
what
for
we
the
got.
most part, unless you're flying Eamon, or a bomber, you're really only going to need your one template. and your 2s and 3s, I guess, turns, I guess, because of the Talon rolls. But yeah,
Why do you say a bomber?
because the bombers don't they get to drop with the soft ones, with the soft one
Yeah,
and two
yeah, but
firearms.
that doesn't affect the bomb. The lines doesn't affect the bomb.
Uh,
Yeah.
all right. Don't use logic against me. Respect my authority.
Well, I think
I thought we established that already. Come on.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, one thing I think it's important to note because unfortunately I have never won premier level templates. Sad face. But you two have.
You got range rulers.
I got yay my range rulers. The 1 year at Adepticon where they gave top 8 not templates. They gave them range rulers and they gave it the templates to top. Ugh, never mind. We're moving on. We're moving on. It's fine. But yeah, so you guys can still use your templates at least most of the time, which I think is really cool and useful.
Yeah, I actually I like it.
I'm gonna continue to use cardboard until I earn some.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
actually in the same place. I put my cardboard. I still have my my Gen Con ones, but I've got the cardboard sitting on top of them. So like like William said, this is a new game. It's a new version. So all old accomplishments mean nothing.
They mean nothing. All right, they're
Nothing at
scrubbed,
all.
scrubbed out. All right, we'll go ahead and take the next one here.
Next one is the obstacles you can bring. Or no, well, I already started it, so that's the one
It's
we're
fine.
doing.
It's fine. Go for it.
That's so the obstacles are not restricted to the core set. You can bring any existing obstacle except for the epic debris, the broken transport. You can't bring that, but you can bring all normal 12 legal. Is it 12?
Yeah,
6 in the core, 6 in the new core, 6 debris. That's 18.
that's 18.
You
Meh. Yeah.
you, you can bring all legal 18 obstacles from first edition into second edition.
Now I want to spend a little time on this part.
Me too.
Okay.
But go ahead, you first.
So, like, us three and players who've been playing for a long time, we own all those obstacles, right? We have even maybe several
Mhm.
copies of each one. Does this put newer players at maybe not a big but a small disadvantage? They do have a smattering. They get like 3 rocks and 3 debris in the core set, but um, does this hurt newer players a little bit?
I don't think so. If for starters, newer players aren't playing to the millimeter. I think the actually I don't even think most elite players are playing to the millimeter. So a couple of rock sizes bigger or smaller are not going to make or break. I think more than the size of the rock, it's the style. Whether you're going for debris or you're going for for the actual asteroid is what makes a big difference. So I don't think it's that big of a hindrance to newer players who just started with 2.0 and started with 6 out of the box.
What do you think, Will?
Yeah, I like it. There's too many times where the little mustache is on the board and it's not really doing anything because it's just so small. It's not really for making an asteroid field. Though, and I do think that because the core set has both asteroids and debris, that um, is a little bit more open. I think previously in first edition, you needed to get what the decimator or dash to even acquire debris.
Yep.
So I think that in itself has opened it up. So you have those options, and I would prefer to see the larger asteroids and not the little tiny ones out on the board.
Yeah, and the reason I wanted to spend a little bit of time on this one is just more looking forward than on the actual rules. I just wanted to throw out there that I'm really hoping that with the different factions that are coming out, that we get exposure to different types of debris because yeah, the debris is good. The asteroids are good, but I would love to see different types of obstacles that can be brought to the table that have different types of effects. Even some of them that might have positive effects, cargoes and things like that with different types of restrictions where, you can only put them at 3 range away, so you don't put them right in front of you and things like that. Just different types of debris options or obstacle options. I would love to see with the new factions coming out, and some support type of options out there, kind of like the Hunger Games side game that got created. Where if you land on a rock, you get some benefits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how how this develops, and I guess like you guys said, they do get both types in the core set 3 and 3, so they at least have those choices. But I know like for some people who maybe just think about it a little bit more when it comes to choosing the obstacles, they consider it part of their list. So maybe the people with that mindset might think that they do have a bit of an advantage by being able to say, all right, I get to choose. I have a bigger selection than somebody who's just starting. Just to play devil's advocate, kind of looking at the other side.
Yeah, but at that point, you can play the same devil's advocate and say, I got a bigger selection of ships, and I can put three. I don't know. Well, I can
Jump
put
masters.
four. Yeah, 3 jump masters on the board. Well, actually, no, you can't anymore. I can put three. I can put, I don't know, 4 interceptors on the board. You can't because I own more interceptors than you.
Right.
So, that I don't think that's that big a deal.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they ever do another core set for like a different time frame, like
Yeah.
they had done in first edition. I would expect to see all the um to see different obstacles in like a second core set to give those newcomers that access to them without going back and buying, which is basically a useless core.
Yeah. That makes sense actually, Will. And that's a little bit of a side tangent there. Um, I am super curious if they're going to put out another core set for at least maybe not Resistance and First Order, but for um, the Separatists and the Grand Republic. I'm super curious about that.
I think they will, because if you look at other games that have, you know 4 or 5 plus factions, they allow you to get into the game with certain faction selections. And right now, the only things that are available to you are the old school Empire and the old school Rebel. You can't really get into it with Scum. You can't get into it. You're not going to be able to get into it with the First Order, with the Resistance, or with the 2 new factions that are coming out. So I assume there's going to be some type of entry point, where you get, if all you want to play is Separatists, that's all you get. Is where my well, I guess where my hope would be, and I guess you would need Separatists plus one,
Right.
because you need, but
Something to play against.
yeah, so it would be, a core set for First Order and Resistance, and Separatist, and what's the other one?
Grand Republic.
There you go. Whatever that is.
Like the Jedi Starfighters and stuff like that. Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, I'm gonna second that. Actually, I would not expect. I got a tinfoil hat idea of that there's going to be a second Scum faction, Black Sun. Um, but I would not be surprised to see a Scum Black Sun core set as well, like maybe a year or two down the road. And then so that way that they do have a core set for each faction, so you could jump right into whatever specific faction you want. Because it is kind of weird that if you're only playing Scum and Grand Republic, what is the core set really doing for you? It's a very expensive damage deck and a couple dice.
Yep.
So it makes sense to me, but we'll see how far along in production. I don't I wouldn't want them to like come out with them all at once and like oversaturate the market on that. But
Mm-hmm.
if they came out with a new core like each year, I think that would be acceptable.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. So that was good side tangent. We'll come back. I like that. So I'll hit the one that we skipped here. So FFG in there talking about actual tournament structures and making the cut. They mention here when players drop out of a cut, uh, it's now in the rules that whoever was, so let's say, 8 people made the cut, and you got your I don't know, 6-0, and then the rest are like 5-1s. If person number 8 or anybody in the middle there says, "Hey, I'm not. I just came for the prizes to make the cut. Thank you very much," or "I can't make it," or something like that, whoever was number 9 can get bumped up as long as, and this is the caveat there, as long as it's not a progression cut that meets the next day. So we'll see when that comes up. I don't know if regular tournaments with a cut are considered a progression cut or not. That was not super clear um, in the rules, but just something to note there, because I know that's been a question at some of these system opens that I've been to and things like, but what, oh, this person's not coming. Can we get that spot filled? That way somebody has a chance, and we'll see depending on
So when
what
they
the
say
format
progression
is.
cut, does that mean rounds 7, 8, and 9 the next day, or does that mean like just the top 64 and numbers, or 64 didn't show up, so 65 can play?
So a progression cut, they basically explain it as what the system opens were this year, where it was like go 5-1 or better and you make day 2.
Okay, that makes
That
a lot of sense.
that's what a progression cut is. So they're saying in a progression cut, if somebody from the progression cut can't go, somebody who didn't meet that 5-1 is unable to make the jump. But if it's something like a regional style or what's it going to be called now? Hyperspace trials, then you can, because you just take whoever was next and bump them up. Because it's not a progression cut; it's simply like a Swiss top cut. I think that's how that's going to be ruled.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. All right, Marcel, go ahead and take the next one.
2 or more ships, no Vader, and the bid. What?
I I abbreviated the notes there.
I would think so. Put it up on the screen, and then I'll
There.
actually see what you
Okay.
mean. Like, what in the world are you talking about? Each player must build one squad to use a tournament. Let me bring up my free loot away. Each player must build one squad to use in a tournament. A squad cannot exceed 200 points. Ooh, no cheating, I guess. Though it may contain fewer than 200 points. I got one at 184. Beat me. A legal squad list contains between 2 and 8 ships from a single faction. Got it. So no more Sunter versus the world.
Right. You have to have at least 2 ships.
Uh,
Do we know what the most expensive ship is right now?
I think I've actually Dash is up there. I know that
Mhm.
Han can be up there. We're talking about the Rebel Han, of course. Decimator Oiken is up there, especially if you throw Emperor Palpatine in there. No, actually, not Emperor Palpatine, which is actually I would say Han with Luke and something else might be like really high. But yeah, I don't think anything scummy is. I flew 109-point Asajj at the Gold Squadron Classic,
Yeah, you
so that
did.
was kind of pricey.
Shoot.
Yeah,
Girl was
actually,
thick.
that was fun. That was fun. Who said Asajj ain't good anymore? Or Dengar or Guri?
We'll never know. We'll never know about Dengar because we have no evidence. We got nothing.
No
There's no
evidence. No
proof.
evidence. I flew robots that day too.
Yep. I'm sorry. I apologize for the computer. I think she's doing better now.
But anyway, I think Han is probably the most expensive. I like this. I like this just because it. I never really liked the whole bring Soontir versus the world thing. It seems like a cheap cop out. I don't know.
Yeah, and I could see somebody trying to do it with Vader in this format, right? Where you just like, all right, I have
Oh, sure.
supernatural Vader. I'm gonna take one thing to half, and like they'll use the analogy like, and then you'll never shoot me again, right? I mean, it's not as easy as it sounds,
And
but
not
with
as easy as now because green dice now matter less than it did before.
yep, absolutely. So just something something to think about there. All right, Will, next one.
Reserves. Ships in reserve are considered on the board for end of game point counting. So is this reserves is if you have something docked, or if Moralo Eval had flown off the board that round. She is put in reserves, but they still count,
You know
which makes
that
sense.
that's an interesting point. I didn't even think about Moralo. Like if you're at that, you got 10 seconds left in the round, you still got to charge, and you go, I don't want to take any damage. I'm out.
I'm
It's
just
just like
fly out.
I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm in reserves.
No,
That's the game.
yeah, yeah. One health Moralo is gonna hit the board edge at time for sure. You're
Every
not
time.
gonna.
Because it has two charges, right?
Yeah, you can do it a second time.
Has anybody flown Moralo at League yet? Because
Um,
that one, from a mechanic standpoint, that's probably the biggest mechanics change I've seen.
I actually was planning on bringing it tomorrow, along with the other thing I've been practicing.
Oh, I'm not gonna be there. So sad.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see if we get it on stream. Just depends on what time people show up and stuff. But
Mhm.
yeah, well, that's awesome. And next one, I'll go ahead and take this. Is half points still round down? Um, this is important that they put this in the rules because there was a lot of confusion because of the app. Yes, the app. I know that it's not working as well as possible. And yes, I did a full review on the app, and people are saying I was too nice. But that's who I am. I'm a nice guy. Like I gave them a little bit of mercy, here, and so I gave them a rating of a 3.5, and somebody was like, 3.5? What are you doing? And I was like, well,
Wait, out of 10 or
no,
100?
out of 5.
Oh,
3.5
okay.
out of 5. So like a 70%, essentially. Like you can build a squad in it. Like it does that. It has some variants that kind of work. 3.5 is you are okay. Is it stellar? Is it great? Absolutely not. No, it's not. But
You're
um,
talking about what?
the app. But the segue here is the fact that um, on their PDFs, when they had the half points calculations or the number there, some people were saying, "Oh, this means that that we're rounding up because if you look at the number, it's the rounded up." And that's not what that number actually is. That number is the number of points you have left as the player who owns that ship. So if
I've never even seen the roundup thing. No.
yeah, it's on the printed like the PDF from the official FFG app.
Oh,
So
I didn't notice that.
so it has like threshold. So for instance, like Darth Vader, it would say threshold 3, meaning if you take 3 damage, you've given half points. And if he is, 50, if a ship is worth 51 points, okay, you would end up rounding down to 25, but the paper is going to say 26 because the player has 26 points and they've given away 25. That's how they're calculating it. That's how they are presenting it. I think it's bad. That's definitely one thing I hit them pretty hard on the review. Is like this is not smart. Like I don't like the way that they put it on there. It's going to cause confusion. But here's the clarity. We're rounding down. That's what matters. Round down, please, and thank you.
So to summarize, it's still the same.
Yeah, nothing's changed. Icto facto, nothing's changed.
That's good. That's the way that makes sense.
Yep. All right, guys. Now this is the moment you've all been
Oh,
waiting
jeez. Oh,
for.
what?
We're gonna talk about fortressing because it's addressed in the tournament rules.
Mm.
Yes. So, if anybody who's just joining us live, yes, FFG did release tournament rules to the Coruscant invitees. We were able to get a copy because Will is a Coruscant invitee, as well as a bunch of other podcasts have gone ahead and put that up. We did put it on our Gold Squadron podcast Facebook page. It'll be in the description of this video as well. Let's go ahead and start breaking this down because we have a lot of things to cover. Essentially, what we're going to do today is we're going to divide it into 4 parts, and we'll divide what they've given us into 4 parts, and then we will give you guys our take on it. Sound good, gents?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty, so let's talk about this first part here, how it's defined. So they said fortressing is conduct. It's a conduct violation relating to a game state in which one or both players are using the rules of overlapping ships to prevent the movement of their own ships. It's considered stalling. So essentially, if you're constantly bumping yourself so that you don't move, that's the easy way to point that out. And one part of this paragraph I did accidentally cut off here is that the only person that can officially determine, like, say you are fortressing and give you the penalty for it is the marshal, which we'll get to the consequences here in a little bit. And Marcel, how is fortressing identified?
Is that the due to the maneuvers?
Yes.
There you go. Due to the maneuvers that a player has selected, all of that player's ships have overlapped one another in such a manner that none have changed positions on the board for 2 or more consecutive rounds. That player could have selected maneuvers that did not result in the same game state. I like the direction that they're going. I hate the execution of it. Because you can very easily stall and fortress with 3 out of your 4 ships or 2 out of your 3 ships, and the other ship is maneuverable quick enough to essentially never engage and never be in play or just do donuts. And or you can do some of the shenanigans where you're moving, your barrel rolling, and you're blocking yourself, and it's a continuous bump. So that part of it I didn't like. What I do like is something that we skipped, where it gives the marshal full authority to basically do anything that he wants to do. Basically turns him into Eric Cartman, respect my authority, and lets the marshal decide, hey, you know what, written as, what is it? Written as whatever.
Words is written.
Yeah, words is written. I don't care. You're stalling. You're unsportsman.
Yeah, we'll get to the consequences here in a minute. And I do agree. I'm not a fan of the way that this is worded, because in fact I could argue that if you're not going to let me castle, that's another way. If you're not familiar with that word, castling, fortressing, same thing. If you're not going to let me fortress by just saying, all right, none of my ships move, your turn, I could actually take longer by saying, okay, well, I'm gonna make these 2 ships not move, but then I'm gonna move this 3rd ship and do like you said, hard won barrel roll. Because now instead of just having, I would have just not had any of them move. Now I'm having to use time off the clock to move another ship. So it definitely has some exploitable parts there. I think a perfect example of this, I know this is 1st edition, but Kevin and Nathan Idy, father and son.
Jeremy.
Huh?
Jeremy Trad.
And well, was he running the Kanan with the Ezra that would coordinate focuses? I think you're talking about something.
Yeah, he beat me with it. He's the one that knocked me off the cut in the Indiana Regional.
Yeah, so they had this setup where 2 of the ships would castle in the corner, but the Sheathipede would essentially just kind of do donuts in the corner, but it was still a castle. Like it's still the same idea, but it wouldn't fall under like the definition for castling. So it's
By the
it's
way, we just pooped on all Wisconsin. So
no, they're
just so you
beautiful.
know.
They're beautiful people. They're beautiful people. But
Yeah, they make good cheese.
they do. But yeah, so not a huge fan of the way it's defined, but at least maybe I mean, what do you think? Well, like at least we're kind of starting to address it.
Yeah, that's as now that it is in the rules, and we because we don't have floor rules for almost anything in X-Wing, which is unfortunate. But at least now it is identified and can be addressed, which is good. You're right. I mean, there's no difference of your two large bases just one banking into each other versus your defenders just 4King right off the start. I don't, and to be honest with you, I don't think there's that much difference than just 140 down the board edge because you're still not trying to engage at all.
Mm-hmm.
But at least there is some rules referencing it, which is a start.
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, what they're getting rid of, there's a difference. They do talk about slow play, and they make that very subjective purposely, where the marshal has say on what's slow play or not. But when this fortressing thing, they're really getting rid of that whole. I will not touch my dials for an hour and 15 minutes and come at me. I'm just going to roll dice when you get close enough. So that's what they're getting rid of.
And I think the other thing that they're getting rid of is players that decide they don't want to play each other, right? Or at least that's what they're attempting to do. So, for instance, we had several instances.
Sorry. No, wait. Was it Brandon and John? There you go. Brandon and John.
Right, so that was one of them, but there was a couple other ones where they decided like we don't want to play, let's just castle in the corner, and at Worlds they made them at least flip the dials every once in a while, but they would both receive the consequences for fortressing, which we can expound on this in a minute. Let's talk about those consequences. What are the consequences, Will? Tell me what happens.
If the leader determines, or excuse me, if the marshal determines that a player is trying to use fortressing to their advantage, they should inform the player of this fact and instruct that player to plot maneuvers that end the fortressing board state. If the player fails to do so, at the end of the next activation phase, all of their ships are destroyed and the game ends. So you are given a stern warning. So you can't just be surprised by basically a disqualification of that game.
Yeah, and they do repeat that. They want you to know that so much they actually put that paragraph in twice. If you if you look at the document, I think they one is this paragraph and the second one starts with like
Alternatively,
alternatively the same thing. But yeah, all your ships blow up. But here's my problem with this, guys. Here's my problem. So they say it's considered fortressing, and you get these penalties, or you get the first warning after 2 rounds of not moving. So what you're telling me is I can castle for 2 turns before consequences, right? Like
one or two.
2. Like if your ships don't move for 2 turns. So like my ships are set. This is their current position. Round 2, they didn't move. Now I got to round 3. Now I have to choose to move before consequences happen.
I think they're specifying that if they haven't changed for 2 rounds. So I would count that on the second round if they haven't moved.
That's the way I read it, and
Okay.
also I think what it does in a tournament setting is that stern warning happens the first time. So if you're playing a list that relies on stalling, let's say stalling instead of fortressing. If you're
Mm-hmm.
playing a list that relies on stalling and you get that stern warning in round 2, and then in round 4 you get that same complaint. One of the things that I do like about this tournament put out is that now the TO or the marshal has the authority, and is in black and white. The authority has I mean the marshal has full authority to say, you know what, I declare this unsportsmanlike or they don't even say unsportsman, they say unsporting. It sounds like unsportica. Anyway, uh, you know, this ain't cool, man. It ain't groovy. You know, it just ain't cool. And they have the authority to just say, get out, you're done. So while I understand that you can kind of exploit it temporarily,
Mm-hmm.
it gives the marshal enough authority to say, you know what, I don't think you're playing the game as it's intended to play. You know, thank you for your entry fee. Get out.
And somebody in the chat brought up something that I'm gonna kind of go off of what they said here. Um, it does give players who don't want to play the game in a certain match the option to basically simultaneously destroy all their ships, because it doesn't necessarily get you out of the tournament. It gets you out of the game. Um, but if that's the case, with the scoring, you would end up with a 0-0, like if you were the winner of the final salvo, because you guys both simultaneously destroy. You would end up with a 0-point win.
No, you would end up with a 200.
No, no, you wouldn't, because you didn't destroy anything.
Yeah, but the rules also state in a case of a draw where if you both blow up, it's a draw. In a case of a draw, it's a 200 for each player, MOV.
Ah, well, I don't want them to have any MOV. I want them to get nothing.
Yeah,
But it states
they would
it's,
get they would get
I
it's
missed
a
that.
half the MOV.
yeah, it's a
Okay.
200 MOV on a draw
Okay,
for both
I
winner and
must have
loser.
missed that when I was skimming it. All right, well,
Hey, now you said you were not lazy about things. Uh-huh.
hey, I
Who's
was
missing
taking
stuff
care
now?
of a baby. Okay, I was taking care of a baby. Leave me
Y'all got
alone.
excuses.
That's my excuse is 2 years old. Um, and the last thing here, you can go ahead and hit that, Marcel.
Players should not request a check for fortressing unless the above criteria are met, as repeatedly doing so could be considered unsporting. That word just irritates me. Unsporting. Unsporting conduct. You know, I that's another phrase that I don't like.
Okay, why?
Just because if it happens in the first round and you're playing against an opponent that is fortressing, and you know they're slow playing or stalling, you're going to be, you know, it's victim shaming. You know, it's like you're afraid to say something because you're afraid you're gonna be looked at as a whiner and a complainer, and all the negatives are on. A negative connotation for calling somebody out
Yep.
on doing something that's not that's not according to the way that they want you to play. So when you get into round 3 and round 4 and somebody eventually brings up the courage to speak up and say, like, hey, this person is playing like, you know unsporting. Is that even a word? God damn, I hate that word. Sorry. Edit that out. Good Lord. Gosh darn it. I hate that word.
Just keep going.
Um, yeah, I mean, it's going to happen in the third or fourth round, and now this person's going to get a stern warning. And Serena Williams is going to point out and say, no, getting very political. And the that could have been like the third or fourth warning, and it's probably going to be the first. So I don't like this. I think this one should be errata, deleted completely out. If you think someone's being a jerk, or somebody's not playing the game as somebody's not wanting to play the game and they're just trying to game it, just let people call it out. And if the judge feels like if it's being overdone, then let the judge say, hey, you know what? If you keep complaining about stuff that's not real, and then give the warning to the person that keeps complaining about meaningless stuff.
I'm gonna build off of what you're saying. That I think maybe the starting. I would definitely wouldn't start by just raising the hand and calling the judge if you see someone's bumping their ships together. One a big thing in X-wing, especially tournaments, is that kind of communication between the players. Definitely just ask your player, like, what are you doing? Why aren't you moving your ships? And if they're like, I'm going to wait for you to come to me, then you call the judge. But if they're like, well, I was just waiting for one round to see, which side of the board you took. And then you can be like, okay, well, as long as you move eventually. Like, I definitely don't think you should start trying to immediately penalize people. As long as you keep like an open discussion with you and your opponent about it, it should be resolved fairly quickly. Or maybe they're not aware that's a rule,
That's
and you
very
need to
true.
just inform them.
I mean, this is going to be super new. Let's let's get the. I want to see the first person, who gets a loss because of the fortress at Coruscant. Let's make it happen.
That would take a lot of cojones to have a judge be like, you need to move your ships, and then set your dials again, and just be like, no.
Look them right in the eye and say,
No,
I don't want to."
milk me.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would do that, but it's just interesting to think about. And a couple other good points come up in the chat. Would this warning go from game to game? So if you've done it,
Yeah, I don't see why not, because it's the same marshal, it's the same judging crew. Why not? If somebody's being, it's the same tournament. So if you do something wrong, same thing with, let's actually use past evidence, right?
okay.
I forgot the dude's name, but part of the thing that made the "don't cheat on stream" famous,
Oh God,
that carried on game to game, right?
yeah.
I mean, the judge, I mean, this is coming straight from FFG. Frank and crew said, "We're going to keep an eye on you if it happens again, or if we see anything remotely suspect." I mean, they set the precedent there. They put the precedent saying, "Hey, you know what? The magnifying glass, the telescope is on you. If you sneeze in the wrong direction, we got you." So yeah, I don't see why a warning in round 1 should not carry over to round 4.
Cool. I mean, it's makes sense to me. What do you think, Will?
I there's a lot of factors, but yeah, I would say like it has to be something specific about your list that is the reason why you're fortressing like that. And to be honest with you, I was thinking about this during the week about how I would face down my list at the Gold Squadron Classic against um, the champion,
Mm-hmm.
and it was Will Gary. And honestly, I would have sat in the corner and waited for him. There's no reason to
Yep.
let him get behind me and outmaneuver me. I maybe like sit in the corner, might be just like one bank barrel roll, and just wait. But it actually would have been my tactic for that fight. So,
Yeah, that's a
well,
perfectly good
it's
good
not good to
segue.
just sit there. Sitting there looks bad like that. I think it might just stem from like a casual observer's view of the game. And if one person's just not even moving their ships at all, it looks like a very weird game.
Yeah, and I think the reason why FFG wanted to address this is they want people to play the game. I think that's just where this whole, trying to address it comes from. It's like we want people to play, not to just wait. It's like it's really and man, can get really sensitive about fortressing, because then there's in first edition, right? You were able to fortress as much as you wanted, and there was final salvo. Which final salvo, like if you had, more dice, it was to your advantage. If your list had more dice than your opponent, especially a significant amount, he's like, you know what? I'm not gonna move. You come to me, you engage on my terms. Otherwise, statistically, you lose. Right? So it's kind of just in a
We
weird
didn't
spot.
we didn't talk about that they didn't change the
Yep.
final salvo rules, did they?
Yeah, I wanted to make that part of here. Yeah, this final salvo is exactly the same, which is why I'm glad that they address fortressing. And like you said, Will, it's in the document now. It's in the document. They could add the red text at any time where they're like, actually, we're changing all of this right now. Um, but we'll see how it progresses, and we know how our community is, right? Like we know that people will always try to push the envelope, try to get to the very edge. So where does this rule actually end, and how far will you let me go before I get my hand slapped? And that is where that's where I'm curious to see where we go. So any other thoughts on fortressing?
It looks like I just wanted to add one last thing,
Mm-hmm.
that you can let your opponent do it, unless you call a marshal or a leader or whatever, however they want to define it. You can actually let your opponent fortress if you think it's advantageous for you to fight them. You can let them.
But I mean, you could also, isn't it to your advantage if you call them on it? Like they castle, they do it again. Judge,
I mean,
they castled. Boom,
I mean,
I
maybe,
win. All right, all your ships are destroyed.
maybe you want the 5 rounds to get that perfect flanking position. Just saying that it's only illegal
Yeah,
when one player brings it up.
That's true.
I yeah, I think
Well, I
for the
mean,
most part they're trying to get rid of just negative play experiences for the opponent, right? Because you've got players that, especially in the earlier rounds where you've got newer players that are starting to get into it, and look at it from a business standpoint, from fantasy flights, where they're trying to sell more ships, they're trying to get more player base, and things like that. And you've got newer players who probably own 20% of what's available, and they want them to buy the other 80%, and they go to a tournament, whether it's casual or a little bit more down the line, and in the first 1 or 2 rounds they run into one of these fortressing, or they run into something that's kind of gimmicky, and just creates a really bad experience where it feels like, hey, you know what, I signed up to play moving ships around and pointing arcs and rolling dice, and I'm not doing that. I feel like I'm slowly walking into a bear trap,
mm-hmm.
uh, and I'm just gonna die, and this is not gonna be fun, and I don't want to play anymore, and I hate this game, and let me put all my ships on eBay. I think that's what they're trying to get away from. So it's a combination of trying to make fair play, but it's also a combination of trying to keep the game fun for newer players who are not aware of. I mean, I just saw somebody on the either Twitch or the YouTube chat coming up like, "What does fortressing mean?" or "What is
Mm-hmm.
fortressing?" Well, whoever asked that question, Jay so and so, if you were to run across that against a really good player who knows how to fortress and has a really good fortressing list, and you ran across that at a tournament, you would know what it was, and you would hate it, and you would be like, I don't want to play this game anymore. I'm just gonna drop this isn't the game that I signed up for. Unfortunately, there's still other experiences where that can be made, uh, less so now than before. But I think that's where FFG is going with this. Is they're just trying to get rid of a lot of the things that people are complaining about, especially the newer players who still have more things to buy and more. I mean, hey,
Yeah,
I'm
I
in
mean it's
marketing.
business. It's business. I
I
get it.
make my
Yeah.
money in marketing. You know, that's what allows me to put food on the table, and that's the way I'd be looking at it. Is you know what you guys said own everything. You're gonna buy whatever comes out new. But somebody who just started playing yesterday, they're gonna buy everything that came out for the last 2 years and whatever comes out new. So I'm gonna look out after them.
Yep. Agreed. And we'll see how it evolves. And I think overall, I'm glad that we ended up with tournament rules. Like, I'm glad, we're getting into a competitive season. We got a bunch of events coming up. Obviously, Coruscant's this weekend, and we have official tournament rules. We have a starting point. It is version 1, and, the whole point of this conversation is that we're not like, crapping on like, oh, FFG gave us these tournament rules, they're horrible. The whole point is starting the discussion, trying to find those spots that can be exploited, and trying to see if they can get addressed over time, and just understanding, the perspective at which FFG put these together. So that's going to close out that section. I am going to do a separate YouTube video like just about the tournament rules, especially for newer players, so you guys can look out for that in the coming days, along with some other content that'll be dropping there. But we're going to go ahead and switch gears here. Will, you're going to take the lead. William, take the wheel. Let's talk about Coruscant.
All right. Well, just to keep everybody up to date, Coruscant's the culmination of the Open Series, which started back in, I want to say January. They were all from this year, I believe. Chicago was
I think
Adepticon.
December the December last year was the first one, like December
Yeah, I think
2017,
that's the Philly one.
17, the Philly one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And Dion, how many did you end up streaming this year? Those systems opens.
A billion, all of them except for all of them in the United States except for one. And this year I will literally be at all of them. By
Nice.
the way, I do got a scoop, a little bit of a scoop. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not, but I'm gonna do it anyway, cause whatever. Um, System open information this weekend, probably, maybe. Birdies are talking. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe
Well,
maybe it.
it'd be a good time.
That is not even a remote scoop.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey.
No, well, I'm telling you that I got an email, and I'm just saying that to be look out for it this weekend. That's all. I don't know if it's gonna come true. I'm just saying I got an email,
Well,
and to
I
look out
expect
for it
an
this weekend.
email anonymously.
Say that again.
I expect an anonymous email
You
before
expect?
the end of the night.
All right.
That's you, Dion.
Go ahead, Will.
All right. Anyways, the Coruscant Invitational took the top 8 at each system open throughout the entire world, and the 6-0 undefeateds in the space qualifier in each of the system open events as well. Now, it is this weekend. It's up at the FFG Center in Roseville, and they are requiring us. Every year they've done something different. Last year was 77 plus for the 48th anniversary, and this year they have faction specific required cards. Imperials have Ruthless, which is a talent slot that I forget the exact wording on it, but basically you can change a die to a hit as long as you take a damage on another ship at range 1 of the defender. So you damage your own ship, and then you can change a die to a hit. And like I said, that's a talent slot. The Rebels have Leia Crew, who every 3 rounds, based on getting a charge every round that regenerates, she can make every ship in your list decrease a red move to red move's difficulty to a white move, and Scum have Boba Fett as a crew, and Boba lets you, after everyone has set up, deployed, asteroids, all that, then Boba Fett can come in, and he has to be outside of range 3 of enemy ship and range 0 of an obstacle. So kind of different little takes there on list building. And I don't know if I'll get into that just yet. But this will be pretty interesting. It really restricts the ships that can even be flown at this event. I think the Imperials get off the easiest because
Mm-hmm.
they only need a ship with a talent slot, which I think every ship but the Lambda and Punisher can have a pilot with a talent slot. So it'd only rule out full Punishers and full Lambda lists. The Rebel crew carriers, you have the Hawk, Attack Shuttle, Sheathipede, Ghost, the YAT 1300 and 2400, both freighters, the U-Wing, and the Azatuk as well. So actually, the Rebels get quite a bit of crew carriers, but you have to bring one in your list. And same thing with Scum, you have to bring a crew carrying ship, which limits some of the list building, and especially the Boba Fett crew. There is no Leia crew, but there is no Leia pilot, but there is a Boba Fett pilot, which means Boba Fett fire spray won't be at the event at all, which is weird because he's honestly probably one of the best ships to like come out of 2.0. Would you guys agree on that?
Oh yeah, undoubtedly. I mean, at least initial impact wise. By the way, Will, I don't know if you can see my screen. This is you. That's you talking. This is you right there.
No.
I was wondering what the heck you were doing. I'm like, leave Chewbacca alone.
So
What are you doing?
I wait. I'll get you in a second.
Huh?
Oh, you'll see. Yeah, I mean, undoubtedly, Boba Fett has been the strongest thing to come out, and take the lead in the beginning. You know, he was dominant in the Gold Squadron Classic. You hear from a lot of other little events that have happened that Boba Fett is really in the front. Now, is that because people are seeing, hey, somebody was successful with Boba Fett, let me go ahead and try it out? Like, is it that see it, do it mentality? We don't know, but we know that he can get multiple actions even after getting bumped, which is something that you were always striving to do in first edition. You know, you roll up, you have re-rolls, which are essentially like target locks or like extra lone wolf things. It's kind of what it works out to be on defense and offense. Unlimited, just depending on how many ships you have at range 1. You can get a focus with no consequences. Matthew Carey had debris gambit, so he was able to do like re-rolls plus evade plus the Han focus. I mean, it's really good.
Yeah, I would definitely think. I think right now, as far as maneuverable ships, maybe not counting out the freighters, but as far as like medium base and lower maneuverable ships, that he has the easiest access to these, just a multitude of tokens. Like you said, Matthew had the debris gambit evade, 000 calculate, and the Han gunner focus, plus Marauder reroll at the back and rerolls for at every ship at range 1. That's so many dice modifiers.
Yeah.
It's kind of mind-boggling. But it is an expensive ship, though. To be fair.
Yeah, and I don't see. I think it's more of a product, of you see success early on, and you want to mimic it, you want to copy it. You either want to mimic, copy it, or you want to go against it. But I honestly think that there's just we're in a pretty good state where you can fly anything, and anything really, if you fly it well, can be effective. Even some of the really crappy janky lists can do well if you fly them well. And that that Boba Fett that you're talking about, even though it has all of them tools, all of them, all them tools. um, even though it has all of that, there's just and there's just so many other things that can really get around it. I mean, some of the lists that I'm playing with either have I'm not playing Rebels, so but Wedge can at Pilot Skill 6 can get around it, get you know all of them rerolls and everything that happens really matters nothing when you're rolling one green die against four at range one because somebody is flying at you at pilot skill 6 and is getting at range one. Same thing with a Sunterfell or some Sunterfell with outmaneuver, which is something else that I'm playing with. Um, so it's good and it's strong and it's better than it when we're going back to the old 1.0 and we were putting ships and lists together saying what's grade A, B, or what's top tier, middle tier, lower tier. It's definitely at that top tier, but nothing has really came out and been broken or would make a traditional 2 and 4 player play a 5-and-1 tournament. That's not available because Matthew still had to fight his butt off to get and do what he did. The list did not win. Matthew won with the list. The list did not do the work. If that makes sense. Whereas in 1.0, you were getting to the point where some of those lists were doing the work more so than the actual player.
Oh no, I fully agree with that. You certainly still have to fly any ship that you're bringing. There definitely is no auto win that we have seen in a couple versions of first edition lists. I think we should get off of Boba Fett and start talking about uh, start talking about what we actually will see at the event. I got some couple. I know. It is like an odd way to build lists as well. But maybe that's for the best because it really is getting everybody to think it, and it might actually. We talked about it, I think, when we were doing the launch episode, that like list building is a skill. So these variant tournaments like this, maybe a lesser pilot who's a better list builder can actually overcome those kind of odds, I guess. But I think let's start with the Imperials. So I don't think because Ruthless can pretty much be put onto any ship that has a talent slot. I think that they're going to be more likely to just be a regular list. And I think that you're going to see mostly just of what's good. Bunch of TIE fighters, maybe a mini swarm and an ace, but a TIE swarm of some sort. Still very good. Defenders, they're a little expensive if to put like Ruthless on them, but because they have so much health, you actually can get some value out of Ruthless by being able to hit the defender while it's at range 1 with more of an ACer ship. Same thing with the TIE Swarms. You can actually, because you have so much health and bodies on the board, you can actually utilize that Ruthless ability with the ties that you have available. And can't speak about Imperials without bringing up Super Vader. I think with Boba Fett out and Most of the list outside of Imperials, possibly subpar or weird because of the variant. That Vader has a chance to clean up some of these non-optimized, maybe I'll say, lists. So he's definitely in the running. He's a great punch fortress, and he's very maneuverable. Lacks the boost, but he can get afterburners, and you can take a damage with supernatural as well. But that ability to reposition before your dial at Pilot's Skill 6 is unmatched currently.
It's very good.
So I very much expect to see people trying out Super Vader. Most likely a Super Vader support, and then a Ruthless carrier. So maybe like I played a small. It was only 3 rounds, but a small little tournament to kind of help out um, the hyperspace qualifier at Adepticon, whose name's Jake, and he's from Dubuque. So me and my buddy went up to Dubuque and played 3 rounds with the group up there, trying it out. And one of the guys was bringing Vader, Shuttle, Soontir, and I think that's might be the main archetype for like outside of TIE Swarms is going to be that kind of double ace uh, style, kind of like new Palp aces, but it doesn't have to be Palp.
Yeah.
It's probably Psi, if anything. It's
Well,
kind of Psi aces.
yeah, just kind of offshoot on that. The one that I've been playing around with and it's been most effective is that dual ace thing. Are you guys hearing all that junk outside my?
Yeah, keep
Sorry
going.
about that. Yeah. I don't know. It's a bunch of biker dudes outside. It's that Vader that whatever you call him, super reflexes, super duper hyperdrive.
Yes.
Supernatural.
Super
Yeah.
duper hyperdrive Vader, yes.
And
We got to make that an
Superfell.
alt art now.
Yeah. Vader, and then the other one that's been working out for me, the way that I've got my list built out and everybody's free to steal it, is the third ship instead of going with what everybody's going with support, putting in some type of thing. Because I tried with the Reaper and things like that, but what it's actually worked out the best has been putting in that Wampa wannabe, Saven or something like that.
Sen.
Yeah,
Sen.
yeah, him with marksmanship.
Her.
Her, whatever. The wannabe with the Wampa wannabe with marksmanship, which lets you kind of beef up Vader and Soontir a little bit more because he's so cheap. He's at 31 points,
Okay.
and I still end up at 186 even with a missile on Vader. So it gives me a ridiculous bid. So I'm always moving last, and it also gives me outmaneuver on Sunterfell. So Sunterfell is basically a wedge with a free focus and better maneuverability and better action economy than wedge. So that's been working out well. But I agree. I think the two ace plus something, whether it's a Reaper jamming, whether it's a shuttle providing some type of either coordinating or other type of support, or in my case, just an kind of an auto damage with uh, her.
Mhm.
We'll just leave it at wannabe her. That I think is going to be
Yeah,
it's going to be really effective, and especially when you get to the people that are really good at flying that archetype. We're talking. Obviously the first name that comes to mind is Duncan, but then you've got God, I'm horrible with names, but is it Kings somebody? The guy that went like 13-0 at down south at one of them system opens.
Oh,
Um,
from the Birmingham Barons, right?
yeah.
Uh,
Well, he flew it,
Joel.
yeah,
Joel Killingsworth.
Killingsworth.
Killings.
There you go. Anyway, people that are good at that archetype are really going to be successful with two ace plus something, and I think the plus something now with this 2.0 lets you get creative and either throw in a striker or throw in something else that deals damage, or just throw something really cheap that lets you beef up the first two and not necessarily have to rely on a shuttle with Palpatine or something like that.
Yeah, I definitely think that the Imperial strength is those maneuverable aces. So I have no doubt that that's what I think a lot of people are going to lean towards in this kind of variant format.
Awesome.
But I think we should definitely let's go on to actually Scum next.
Okay.
And
Triple Jump Masters.
I can't put Boba in. Will be fair. Couple. I think you can fit 3 with Proton and Cybernetics. Go to town.
Mm-hmm.
Possible list. And this might be the. That's why I want to do Scum next. Is I think Scum has the most useful crew carriers. And so off the top of my head, I made a note of quad jumpers. Rarely use their crew slot. Hawks have a crew slot, and the new Lando's Falcon and its escape craft are
Yeah, very true.
also great ships that don't necessarily need their crew slot and can have just something else slotted into it. And outside of Boba Fett for the Scum, I think you're just gonna see all the classic or what's the usual suspects, I would say, for Scum. You're gonna see Fen Rao. I think Nim has well, he's not definitely not as good as he used to be. Being able to be one of the few ships that can trajectory a bomb and be essentially a hard counter to TIE swarms puts him, I think, in the running for this particular event. I I don't know what Lando. You were flying Han in the Lando's Falcon. Why Han specifically, Marcel?
Because I was able to get 5 and 6 die attack out of him pretty consistently, and I was able to set up the whole. You get for 12 points, I get 2 shields from the escape craft plus an uh, automatic proton bomb that detonates at range 1 of anywhere I want to put them, either front or behind at any point. So it took care of any I flew against some interceptors, some TIE fighters, and things like that, and it just made them constantly question their every decision they made, as long as I had that thing locked and loaded. And that's an amazing ship, especially with some debris and some support. Asajj was able to push out stress. 000 was able to push out stress, and yeah, it's a great ship.
Yeah, I think that's going to be maybe the linking factor. What all these what my top picks are for Scum is that you either have some way to debuff, hand out stress, throw a bomb, things like that, or you can just hit so hard. Talking 5 dice attacks or heavily modified 4 dice attacks through like a Guri, getting like taking a target lock and getting a focus, or Fen getting 5 dice at range 1. I think that's going to be probably the common theme among Scum. Is like I said, the hard hitting, and I'm not sure. Is there anything? There's a lot of ships in Scum. Do you think I'm missing any in that list?
Not for Coruscant. I know I'm flying something for the Hangar 19 Classic or whatever they call that thing, the Indiana Classic.
That thing that we're going to and streaming.
Well, it's one of the classics, and it's Indiana, and it's Hangar 19, but I don't know what it's actually called. So I know what I'm flying there, and I'm flying something scummy and super scummy, and that brings back something broken from 1.0 into 2.0. Because that's what I like to do. I like to break things. But with the rules that Coruscant has, that's not, it wouldn't be legal.
Yeah,
So
I've been seeing like robots, like two IGs, and then you put basically IGD, the crew that gives you the same ability, basically, as a list archetype. But
Hey,
even
you're
that,
not allowed to use what I'm sharing on chat and say that's. Come on.
well,
What?
I'm not even looking at
I
chat.
was being cryptic on purpose.
We all know that's a good list.
Mm.
But the question is, what is your IGD carrier, and how is your build? There's so many variables in
Oh
that.
yeah, no, I've got it.
But
Yeah, but it works out. It's my actually a tugboat, to get the tractors in or push out the and also it depends on which IG you're going because most people are going IG, the free evade
sure,
IGs. But anyway,
sure, and I've seen it mixed with one IGD carrier, and then another calculating ship like Guri or Forlam. But that whole archetype's thrown out in this because you need a very specific open crew slot, and that's going to skew a lot of the numbers. I personally think IGs are out. I don't expect any IGs to be flown there because of the list building restriction. Is really you can't get a full list working together because you had to have just kind of a one-off ship.
so what is you said that the requirement is a Boba Fett crew?
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah, so I think I mean really tugboat is where that
that that's my first guess.
or the other real easy place to put them is in an escape craft because they're so cheap.
Yep,
I mean, if you
I
really want to just get, I
100%
mean,
agree.
if you think about it, the little drone
Mm-hmm.
can't do it, but the elite with Boba Fett, that's a 26-point chip. That's basically a Z95, and you can build. You can just assume he's a Z95 and build a regular list with a Z95 support, which is
It's fine. You know what? You bring that escape craft, you put Boba Fett on it, you just let it blow up in 3 turns. You just let it
well, actually
say,
no,
"I'm
because
starting with a
yeah,
handicap." No, you just let it do
no,
it. You
he
just
doesn't
let
No,
it
have two
happen.
flat.
yeah, the drone that blows up doesn't have any slots. I
Oh,
I
sad.
Yeah,
tried that.
but
It did
Lead
it did
does. But the Lead is still at 26-point, ship with
Okay.
Boba Fett. It's a 22 plus 4, so that allows you to. I mean, if you look at the old math, that's a 13-point ship. That's basically a Tie
Right.
Fighter.
Right.
So
Yeah, and if you're
it allows you to build a full squad and then just throw a Z95 for the sake of rules.
All right. Well,
yeah.
go ahead, Will.
Oh, I was just gonna move on. I think that basically covers it for Scum. Unless
Yeah.
you have something to add.
No. Nope. Nope. And we got to hit Rebels, right?
Yeah, we'll hit Rebels then, and uh, same thing. They have a crew slot. And my for Leia, you have to have an open crew for Leia. And my top picks are the Hawk, the Attack Shuttle, and the Sheathipede. Mostly because all three of those ships have red moves, so you actually can get use out of Leia. Whereas like the U-Wing and the Azatuk only have the red stop, so you're
Mm,
not getting as much of use out of Leia.
right.
But I think it's the same thing. Like that outside of that restriction, you're gonna see just basically what is good in Rebels right now. Super Luke, Wedge, some sort of ghost and shuttle combination. I think it's still pretty viable. Not as crazy as it used to be, but I think it's still very viable. And I think it's just gonna be weird to see. It's that's kind of why I saved Rebels for last because I would like to talk about my squad, but actually I'm still not quite sure.
All right.
I'm
Nope. No
leaning.
worries.
Oh no, I'll say the two that are striking my fancy, anyways. Is basically some sort of Luke Wedge, and then Leia carrier,
Mm-hmm.
possibly a Hawk, possibly a Sheathipede, possibly a Tech Shuttle. Because they're so cheap,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to actually invest real points into the ship I'm required to bring.
Right. You just got to
Um,
make sure you have enough space. Like that's it. Just like make sure I have enough room, and that's all I got to do.
Basically, yeah. Though and to your point, Marcel, that the other list I've been trying to fly is a Drea swarm. I got Drea in the Y-wing for Scum. She's got a dorsal turret on her to get more arcs. And I got 3 quad jumpers for tractor beam shenanigans. I got 2 Z95s because they work with Drea, and they have 2 shields, which is pretty good. And then my 7th ship is actually a L337 escape craft. Yeah, elite.
I was
Simply because
curious what you were talking about when you said elite. I think I don't know. Anyway, go
yeah,
ahead.
L337 is elite. But and you can run it with just 4, or excuse me, you can run it with 3 Z's. But actually, like putting L3 in there to help coordinate the quad jumpers, coordinate Drea to make sure I get that arc in the right spot in case she's about to bump. And it provides me enough points to get Tobias Beckett in one of the crew slots, so I can move asteroids around, which I think is pretty important for quad jumpers. And also with Boba Fett just appearing randomly, or not random, I guess he has to appear on an asteroid. that there's going to be a Boba Fett that just appears on an asteroid.
Where?
And yeah, exactly. So like that. That's what I've been looking at. I like that Drake has a lot of good matchups. It just struggles against, unfortunately, TIE swarms and really hard hitting ships like Fen Rao and Wedge, because they could just start deleting the ship every round. So I don't know. I had to decide by Thursday at midnight. So we'll find out then of what I ended up deciding. Because I did take Super Luke to the classic, and it's. I think the best way to explain it is that the archetype that you guys know that I've been flying forever is Punch Fortress Miranda with support, and then some sort of like debuff person to help out. And that's kind of what that Super Luke build was imitating, just in X-wing form, or like X-wings. So I don't know. I'm debating that. It appears though, the proof was in the pudding, I guess is the term, that these like Punch Fortressing ships, Boba Fett, Guri, Vader, Luke, they can pull out the wins, and they seem to be able to fight the swarms even if they're at the disadvantage. So we'll have to find out. What's you guys' opinion? What do you think would be better, the Drea swarm or a Super Luke kind of Punch Fortress?
I think you're gonna have more fun playing playing the Drea Swarm. That's all I know. It's just weird, man. Like even though we don't know like anything about like meta overall, like it's just gonna be so different than where our mind kind of started going with with the Gold Squadron Classic, and we have these other big events coming. It's yeah, it's weird. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of interesting, and we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah, I definitely do have a lot of fun with those quad jumpers. You could just start doing. Once I like broke through a threshold and started to realize that it would be advantageous to start tractor beaming my own ships. It really opened up the field, because you can. What did I do one time? Oh, I moved a quad jumper, tractor beamed one quad jumper, moved that quad jumper, it barrel rolled, so it had effectively barrel rolled twice now, and then I coordinated it a tractor beam to tractor beam a ship onto a rock. And like that is fun. That's legitimately fun. But I don't know if it. This is the problem of the tournament setting, is like I'm gonna lose a lot of those ships, and like it does come down to like points on the board, and I feel that you had discussed this a little bit when we were doing the over-unders on the Gold Squadron Classic,
Yep.
that games were going to time. They were
Oh
going to
yeah.
over an hour
Oh yeah.
easily. There was very few like quick in and out games.
Yep.
And I feel like that, especially with 7 ships on the board, every game's going to go to time.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and
So
I think that's. I mean, if you're just talking about if you're just trying to win or just trying to have fun, that's two different things. And I think right now the the balance is a little bit more. It's sliding a little bit more towards more ships, less upgrades than beefier loaded ships.
especially
Two
because
two dice
you can't have Boba
can
Fett.
yeah. So I personally like the quad jumpers. I'm having a whole lot of fun with them. Even though I'm not really using them for tractoring, and at least I haven't been. But just the threat of it makes people fly differently, and X-wing still comes down to being a mind game, and just knowing that you have to keep yourself. They're basically, if you think about it, and you go back to the old days. It's not even that long ago. Of the what are the 3K wings dropping bombs? The Galaxy Note.
Yeah.
Basically, the Galaxy Note made you fly in a certain way that said, "I can't be anywhere within, you know, anywhere where they can move at range, 2 or 3 or something like that." And that's essentially what the quad jumpers are doing, especially when you're flying multiples. Is if you're flying, especially something that's a small base ship, you're like, I can't be anywhere within their arc or within their 2 turns because
Bad
I'm gonna
stuff's
end
gonna
up
happen.
exactly, and it makes you fly around, it makes you miss shots, it makes you disengage when you don't want to disengage, and it does draw out those games to where they're gonna go an hour 15 because it makes you play defensively. So I love that
Yeah,
shit so
I think
much.
that's the decision I got to make, because my ultimate goal is to make day 2. That would be a sufficient show of skill, I think, is to make day 2. Anything other than that, I think, would be just a boon. Would be a positive thing. So we'll find out. I'm still very excited to play, and I think should just be good fun. Hopefully, well, actually, I would say almost 100% that everyone there is going to be an experienced tournament player.
Yeah.
So it should be pretty smooth as far as a tournament setting.
Absolutely. So I'm super excited, and this gets us to um, our over unders that we are doing in collaboration with our not super wholesome crate friends. So we have an official document here. We're gonna get your guys' answers really quickly because we're running a little low on time. Here we go. You guys ready?
Mm.
Yes.
So again, the answer is just over or under. So total number of, and you guys can play at home. Okay, go ahead, get your paper out. You can play at home. Um, Here we go. So total number of players for the Swiss at Coruscant, I had set the number at 90.
I'm going to go under.
Okay.
Under isn't Coruscant invitation only?
It is 100 and how many was it? Was 145 invites went out.
For Coruscant? Oh my! I'm gonna say under.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the international community is going to be underrepresented.
All right. Number of TIE swarms in the field, 6.5. Over or under?
Over.
Over.
Okay. Number of Luke gunners in the field, set at 0.5.
Under.
Under.
Number of lists with a jump master in it, set at 1.5.
I'm gonna say one person's gonna take it, I would take it. I'm gonna say under. Now, if you said at 0.5, I'd go over.
Yeah, I had to agree. There may be one, but I don't think there'll be more than that.
All right.
And he was good. Dengar did some work. You put contraband cybernetics on him, and makes that right turn. Especially contraband cybernetics and expert handling to make those barrel rolls white. He does some work.
Mm-hmm. Percentage of scum lists. I set the number at 20.5%.
High, over.
Yeah, I agree. Over.
And scum are good.
Alrighty. Number of scum lists in the top 8. I set the number at 1.5.
Over.
Over would be 2.
Yes, over
Yeah.
would be 2.
That's 25%. I'm gonna go.
Yeah,
Over.
yeah. I'm gonna go over. The rest of them are gonna be Imperials, but
Be afraid of them quads, man. Them quads will do some work. I know. I think we're making William lean in that direction. He might be in that list.
Average ship count set at 3.5.
under.
Average for all participants or the cut?
All participants.
I'm gonna say over.
Okay. All right. That's the first time you guys have split on something there.
Yeah.
So average bid of points set at also 3.5.
Wait, are you saying 196.5?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna say over.
Wait, I'm confused. A bigger bid than that.
So if you think it's going to be a bigger bid, so they would have less points, you would say over.
Yeah,
Well, okay,
over.
I'm gonna say the other way. I'm gonna say the average is going to be closer to about 198 or 198 and a half. Not. So that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so Marcel, you were saying under, and Will, you were saying over.
Over. I think
Under,
there'll be big. I think
okay.
there'll be big bids.
Under is over and over is under in this one. Okay, got it.
Yep. That's why I worded it as average bid. All right. The number of players who got an invitation using Miranda who get into the top 8, number set at 1.5.
I don't know who got. I mean, William. I'm gonna put my faith in you, William. So that's gonna be 1.
So you got William, you got Paul Heaver, for sure.
Over. I'm gonna say over, just because a lot. I mean, while I think Miranda was kind of a broken ship, it was a broken ship that was being flown by very talented people. So I'm gonna say over.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to throw my hat in that ring as well and go over.
Okay. Deepest bid, 12.5.
I'm gonna go. It's gonna be higher because I've got a 186 myself.
Yeah.
So
Over. There'll be someone with a 15-point bid for sure.
Yeah.
You guys
for
are
sure.
going over?
Somebody with the Vader is gonna want to be at 183, 184. Yeah.
Okie dokie. So we'll go ahead and stop there. So that was good fun. We'll see how the results come out. It's always good to look at those. It's always fun. So I want to say thank you to everybody who joined us today. We had an awesome time. We do have a bunch of shout outs though. So if you guys want to stick around here.
Wait. I gotta get my shout out in. Hold on.
So you guys can do that while I get here. First, at the end of this episode, there's going to be
gift a sub.
There's going to excuse me. At the end of this episode, there's going to be about a 15-minute clip of me talking to Tim Ralphs and Devin Monkhouse out of the Prototype Toronto League area. We're actually doing a collaboration at Coruscant where Devin Monkhouse is going to be my co-pilot for the entire time at Coruscant. He doesn't have an invite, but he's coming down with the Canadians. He has Dion, can I commentate with you? And he has, commentating experience. I gave him a trial run at one of the system opens, and it worked out well. So he's going to be helping me out. Thank you to them. So at the end of the the bumper of the episode will be them talking, and they're also going to talk about their bus plans going to PAX Unplugged and all of that. So, Lord Vader, what have we done with those plans? Well, we got a bunch of events coming up that I want to shout out. First, I'll talk about two that I am not directly involved with or casting, but they wanted me to shout them out, so I'll go ahead and do that. So Elliot Waits in the UK, he's putting on an event called Gaming versus Cancer. It's an X-Wing tournament happening November 11th. Again, I don't know the exact area of the UK, as I am not familiar with that country. So look it up, Gaming versus Cancer, X-Wing tournament, and that's awesome. I mean, anytime people, I'm literally wearing my Campaign Against Cancer X-Wing T-shirt right now, so obviously I'm pumped about that.
I'm wearing my Campaign Against Cancer X-Wing first place trophy.
Anyway, so and then Tommy Adams is putting on a an event. He runs the XVT Vassal tournaments. He's putting on a little tournament event here on Vassal. Links are going to be all over, Reddit. You can find all that information. But he wanted me to plug that. For both of those events, I will put the links in the description so you guys can find that. Registration for the Vassal tournament that Tommy Adams is putting on out of the Kentucky area. It cuts off on the 14th of October, so make sure you get signed up. Now, as for events that we are covering officially, we got the Crossroads Classic #3 at Family Time Games. That's happening October 13th and 14th in Indianapolis, Indiana. Make sure you guys get signed up. 2-day event, side events. If you don't make the cut, so that's all kinds of cool stuff. Gold Squadron podcast will be streaming, and registration is open at the Family Time Games website. Just go click on events, and it's the first event there. Minnock Open registration is still open, but you just can't get all the extra goodies, but there's still goodies to get. So make sure you sign up if you're going to be going. Would love to see you there. That's November 3rd and 4th. I'm flying to California to cover that thing officially. I'm not playing in that event. It is a work day. I'll be bringing you guys that extended format tournament all day. And should be pretty awesome there. I mean, I'm excited, guys. We have a bunch of second edition events coming up. We talked about this Wednesday. We're going to be streaming our league night. And you can watch all that action on Twitch. Those of you who are watching live, thank you for watching. And all the events, twitch.tv/Gold Squadron podcast. There's a lot of people who actually have texted the podcast page and have said, like, I've never used Twitch. Like, how does it work? Honestly, it's one of the best streaming platforms. So if you're kind of wary because you've never been on Twitch, maybe you're just kind of used to YouTube, give it a shot. Honestly, it's the most interactive platform that I can stream to. So if you want to be a part of that whole experience on stream days, go ahead and make yourself an account and let's get chatting. YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the like button on all the things. It helps the channel a lot. I've been running a lot of metrics lately and just kind of understanding how YouTube spreads our content. And essentially, the more people who like and subscribe things, the more it gets spread to people who don't know about us yet. So let's make sure we can get all this information out. Help us out and go ahead and do that. And you can watch all the replays to all of our video content on our YouTube page. You can catch it there. And lastly, we're going to mention it again, our Patreon, guys. This is how we pay for all the things, how we're able to travel to different states, different part of the country. Soon, a different country. We just got to reach that goal of 400. So if you want to be a part of that, making history for Gold Squadron Podcast, you can go to patreon.com/Gold Squadron and become a part of that awesome list of people I talked about earlier to get us to that goal. So any shout outs, gentlemen, before we close this out?
Going to give a shout out to the Dubuque guys, Dubuque, Iowa, and Jake. Like I said, he had won the Adepticon, one of the hyperspace qualifiers, going undefeated. I believe he was running a Sajin double Y wings, and he's going to be my ride up to Coruscant, and that is greatly appreciated because I very much need the help with that. So big shout out to them. Like I said, they had run a tournament past weekend and gave me a couple reps in and some more 2.0 game time. So big shout out to those guys.
Marcel?
I'd like to give a shout out to my left butt cheek. I've been sitting on my right butt cheek a lot lately, and the left butt cheek is being very courteous and not really complaining about it. And I just really appreciate that type of companionship and support from one butt cheek to the other. Also want to give a shout out to Luke Carrington, who would be my third butt cheek. No, just much love. I'm gonna try to. He's doing me a solid for the Crossroads, and I'm going to try to do him proud and put those on the final table for him.
Yeah, you'll be playing me, and you'll lose.
Ooh, the beef has started.
That's right.
Let's do it.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening. So for Will and Marcel, my name is Dion Morales. Thank you guys for listening. We love you. Gold Squadron podcast is not a thing if we don't have people watching and listening. Gold Squadron, out. All right, so I'm here with two special guests. They unfortunately weren't available for our regular recording time, but I had to get them on the show because we got Coruscant coming up this weekend. And let's go ahead and have them introduce themselves. We'll start with my co-host for this weekend.
I'm Devin Munkos, and I help run the Prototype Toronto League here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
And hey, everybody, I'm Tim Ralphs, and I'm one of the players here in the Prototype Toronto League in Toronto.
All right, so super excited. We're going to be hanging out Coruscant here this weekend coming up, and we're going to talk about what the Prototype Toronto League is. They're going to give us a little bit of that. We're going to talk about our collaboration that's going to happen this weekend, and also just some other things that the Toronto area X-Wing peeps have going on. So I guess here's my question. You guys wrote this down in your notes. Why does the PTL love Gold Squadron podcast? Why do you love us?
Well, Toronto and Chicago are twin cities, right? And I mean, we gave you Dan Aykroyd.
It was a fair trade.
That's a gift beyond measure. That's just how much we love you. So I don't know. Like you create some of the best content out there, Dion. You do so much for the community.
Yeah.
And
we're happy to.
No.
Yeah, we're happy to be on tonight. I know Devin's tickled pink that he's going to be casting with you this weekend.
Yeah,
I had so much fun casting in PAX, and it's going to be a great time. And we've had it was Origins. It was Origins.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we've had Marcel and Nick up here for Canadian Nationals once or twice. So Nick came second in 2017, if I recall correctly.
Yep.
I had the privilege of watching the Marcel and Tristan game with Dion in Michigan this year too. What a corker!
Yeah, that was fun. While I was like keeled over, dying while casting, that was great.
You were like death warmed up. It was insane.
Well, I guess let's talk about that. This weekend coming up. Usually at a lot of these big events, these premier events, everybody around me is playing. Nobody's willing to, just hang out and cast. And Devin, you're making the trip down. You're going to be my co-pilot for the weekend.
Yeah, Tim was insistent that I join the guys. We've got 4 from the Toronto area headed down. Tristan and Cam from the Grand River X-Wing League, and they're a sister league of ours. And Tim and Kelvin from the Prototype Toronto League. Unfortunately, 2 or 3 of the other guys who got invites couldn't make it. So we've got a good amount of invites in the Toronto area, which was, just I think evidence of some of the caliber of the players up here.
Well,
And,
Devin, to build on that, I mean, I'm really proud to say that I'm coming with these guys, right? Cam's the only Canadian holding 2 invitations, I think. And then there's Tristan, who's also the Michigan regional sitting champ at the current moment. So, no, I think these guys are going to be great additions to the tournament.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. I'm glad Tim was, I think, chasing you to find something for me to do down there rather than just be like a coach or a mascot. So I'm glad to be along for the trip. I haven't been able to find the money or the time to make Worlds the last couple of years, and I know we've always had 1 or 2 people at Worlds, but it's never been a huge contingent. So it's nice to have, a dedicated group going down, and I'm glad to be a part of it and like make the trek and see how it goes. We're driving down from Toronto, so that's a 15 or 17-hour drive, depending on how long we take for lunch. And
Yeah,
we're leaving here at 5 a.m, Tim.
Yeah, we wanted Devin along as another driver.
Hidden intentions
Nice.
there.
Oh,
Exactly.
of course.
Yeah,
And cutting the cost 6 ways instead of 5 ways is also good too.
No, it's a great trip. It's going to be a lot of
Yeah.
fun. It'll be a long drive, but it's actually only 25 minutes longer than our current longest road trip from Toronto to Fredericton.
That's true. 12 of us drove to Fredericton, New Brunswick for regionals. Oh God, in 2016,
Mhm.
2015.
We're getting old, bud.
Ugh. But there were 2 regionals happening at the same time on the same day. One was in Fredericton, New Brunswick, 3 provinces away. The other one was also in Ontario, but they were equidistant. They were the same distance apart. One of those drives is through Civilization. The other one is through Scugog and Forest. So
It also brings you dangerously close to Manitoba, and nobody ever wants that.
Sorry for any Manitobans who listen to the cast.
It's still that it was in Thunder Bay, and it's still an 8-hour drive from Thunder Bay to the edge of Ontario.
Yeah, Ontario's pretty big.
Ontario's pretty big. So yeah, I think talking about that trip rolls us into our next point, which is we do trips all the time.
Yeah, you
So
guys
we've done
are
buses
planning
to-
a bus, right? For something.
We're planning a
event coming
bus
up?
in November, so we're close to maxing that out. So if you live in upstate New York, or I don't know what the area around Albany is called, and you want to like hop in on the bus and share accommodations, and I think it's pretty cheap when you convert Canadian kopecks to American freedom bucks. Like I think it gets pretty darn inexpensive. So we just launched a Discord for the PTL. If you want to hunt down Tim or I on Facebook, let us know if you want to jump on board. I think I was pricing it out for some guys at around 200 and 250 American, price to be verified, and that's your route down, the libations that come along with a PTL road trip, and
The famous
and
libations.
accommodations.
I remember just
Yeah.
seeing Tim at at Columbus, just opening up his bag and being like, "Look what I have." I was like, oh, this is okay. Tim's always ready to party.
I don't know what you're talking about, Dion. Nothing like that happens in a public space.
Right.
We would never do such things.
Yeah, and that's for the PAX Unplugged you guys are coming down for in Philadelphia?
Well, yeah, absolutely. We'll be
Right.
there.
It's the first 2.0 System Open Series event this year on the track.
That's right. And we're going to be there. Gold Squadron Podcast will be there covering that event with the support of Cascade Games, so we're super excited of that.
Now,
fantastic.
PAX last year is where Kelvin, who's coming, won his Coruscant ticket. He
Nice.
was narrowly defeated by John Grasser in a corker of a match on the Crates of the Stream, I believe. It was a good game. It was well fought by both of them.
It was very good.
And Kelvin and you and Cam all earned your invites at that tournament as well, correct?
And the hair.
And yeah, Alan Fung himself, Canadian national champion. One of the original national champions. I forget which year. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I goofed my 2 chances to try to get an invite. I messed it up, but no invite for me, but that's okay. That means that puts me behind the computer, ready to cast for you guys, so it all works out. I still have something to do no matter what, right?
You're in a
absolutely.
constant state of invitation, you know that.
Alrighty, so you guys, you guys up in the Toronto area, your prototype Toronto League, I've always found your guys' league interesting. The fact that it's combined between a bunch of different stores, and you do have your PTL Open 2018 coming up, right?
Absolutely. So the way the league works is we run 2 months of a season essentially, and then a month of a postseason, and then we take a bit of a break and we get moving again. So we run about 4 seasons a year. We're averaging between 55 and 65 players a season, depending on whether it's summer or winter. That can fluctuate. And the way we break it down is you can play anyone in the league you want. You got to post a bat rep on our Facebook page, which is really fun. So you got to post your list. You got to give a couple of lines about what happened, or you can write a novel. I mean, go for it. Some guys,
theater, man. Masterpiece.
Some
theater.
guys get really into it. And we've got a Google sheet for tracking everything. And you do 7 games over 8 weeks, and it's really great. We had some alt formats in 1.0. We'll have to see how that goes in 2.0.
No, Devin, you're missing the most important thing, is that you play 7 games and you can't repeat the same named pilot.
Yes, that is our twist. So
That's
we
cool.
got really tired in the Dash Khorasan Jake Dash era, to date ourselves, of you show up to your local game store and half the guys are playing Dash Khorasan or Dash Jake, and you play 2 games a night or 3 games a night, and they're all against Dash Khorasan or Dash Jake, or you brought Dash Khorasan and you're doing the mirror match. So,
or like
Miranda.
a defender into Reapers, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so like everyone's trying to test out their nonsense, and we try to encourage the list building aspect of the game. And there are some people who, the more power gamers among us want to try similar lists all the time.
Right.
And hey, go for it. And we've got little practice groups that spring up, and people who do competitive testing and stuff. And I think it's to the local benefit. And again, yeah, you mentioned it was across the entire city, and it is. We try to be as inclusive as possible.
Yeah, I think that's probably what we're most proud of as a community, is we actually managed to foster some cooperation between the retail stores, because ultimately it's the same end goal.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Like, you can get a game of X-Wing in, almost guaranteed you can get a game of X-Wing in every day of the week in Toronto. And there was always a tournament on the weekend. The stores used to have an agreement, but some stores broke that agreement. And with FFG, I will try to say this as diplomatically as possible, has some issues shipping to Canada. And we've had quite a bit of shortage on OP and OP kits. And some of you may know that the prizes from Canadian Nationals 2018 have still not arrived, which was in March.
They still haven't showed up. They showed up to all these other countries and not... You're right there. You're literally right there.
Dion, not a week goes by that I am answering questions about this, and I'm being very diplomatic right now. And there's literally nothing I can do.
To be fair, at this point, I believe FFG could have probably set them loose on dog sleds, and they could have gotten here faster.
Yeah, dog sleds don't move well without snow, and they could have gotten here. Yeah, so we're hoping that as Asmodee does its integration and works out its kinks with the new Asmodee Canada, that we'll see OP levels return to what they were in the past. But right now we're seeing a bit of a dearth of tournaments. So, yeah, but the community is still quite large and vibrant, and it's always interesting to see the lists that people come up with. For sure.
And anybody who's in Michigan or, again, upstate New York, this dearth,
also known as Lower Canada,
currently, if there's anybody who is also in a dearth of tournaments, the Beacon at the end of this long tunnel is an upcoming event in a few weeks, isn't it, Devin?
Yeah, so we have the PTL Open coming up in just a couple of weeks. October 20th and 21st is the PTL Open. We were initially going to share a spot with you, Dion. We were going to do September 22nd, but there was some concern about whether we'd have enough conversion kits or not, so we pushed it back a month. And man, we're going to make it rain. And the PTL Open, one of the reasons I'm glad we took so much time to explain the league is that the PTL Open tries to give you a league experience in a weekend.
And honestly, folks, if you do come, I promise we'll never have Devin say the words "make it rain" again.
I know that's a touchy subject with your president, but I'll move on.
Oh, God.
So
We agreed
So-
no politics.
Let's continue.
So we give out a lot of prizes. What we do is we do 3 rounds of Swiss the first morning. We try to be done between 1 and 2, and then we run side events in the afternoon, or you can just take off and enjoy Toronto. So the PTL Open in the past has been popular with guys with families or wives that they want to come to Toronto and shop or see the sights or go out to visit the aquarium or the zoo or the museums, what have you. Toronto is a wonderful cultural center that you should come visit. And this sort of tournament structure is really appealing to that, where you can like take off, spend half the day here, and then half the day with your folks, your family, or you can stick around and we're doing side events. So after 3:00, we're going to have a Task Force Armada tournament on Saturday. We're going to have furballs. We're going to have the new 2.0 escalation. We have Josh Dirksen, who made Heroes of the Turret Cluster, is a local. So he was running new missions last year.
Oh,
this
that's
year,
cool.
I'm not really sure what we're going to be doing. I know some of the original play testers are coming. I don't know if Josh can make it. He's quite busy now.
I think Don said he was coming.
Yeah, it's a maybe. He's like 80% yes. So, but he's working with Lavender Games. If I can give Josh a bit of a shout out.
Sure.
Yeah.
And WizKids. Shh.
I don't know. Attack Wing.
If you like Hotak, you might like New Attack Wing. So check out Lavender Games. They're buying IP and making kind of interesting board games, or they're making actually interesting board games with licenses they've picked up. So, and Josh is doing a lot of graphic design and build work and design work for them. So he's quite busy right now.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then
he's also a ton of fun to play Hotak with.
Oh my god! And when you come, the Hotak will be playtesting missions, because that's what we do. We playtest the new missions.
That's fantastic.
And then Sunday, you're going to have rounds 4, 5, and 6 of Swiss, followed by the Cut and a Destiny tournament.
Okay.
Now, I said that the Open gives you a little bit of the taste of the league. So what we ask you to do is you bring 3 lists. Okay, you don't have to play each list, but if you play each list, you get a free tournament point. So it's almost out of 7 rounds. Play 6, it's out of 7. If you play each list, you get 7 points.
Or you play Ghost Fen 6 times.
Or you play Ghost Fen 6 times and you're just like, well, I'm 6-0. I'm good, right? But if you're on
to
the
each
bubble
their own,
there,
right? To each their own.
It helps out. And one thing we're doing this year to encourage people, instead of flying like 1 list 4 times and 2 lists once each, which wasn't a huge amount, but there were some people who did it, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess, but like, play all your lists if you want to play all your lists. But also, you show up to a tournament, maybe, right? If you're new to X-Wing, and we're very new player friendly, you can show up and you're like, oh, this list is garbage. Why did I do this? You're not stuck with it for 6 rounds.
Right.
You can bail on it and be like, oh, I'm going to play this other list. Be like, oh, this is fun. I'm going to play it for 3 rounds and play this other list, my 3rd list, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it gives you a bit of an option to change it up during the day. We give you a little bit of a bonus for doing that. You get the free win. If you fly each list twice, if you go 2-2-2, you do the triple double, we're going to give you a set of Force tokens, right?
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so you're encouraging the variety of play. That's awesome. I was just saying that you're encouraging.
All right, well, just carry on, Devin. Keep talking about the event. He can piece it together. Go for it.
So we lost Dion. Oh, we lost you a bit there, Dion.
I'm here. I've been talking.
Good. Okay. I know, but we didn't hear you.
What I was saying is that that sounds like an awesome opportunity and a way to just get people to play a lot of different lists.
Yeah, and then what we do in the cut, so we only do a top 8 cut, so it's really simple. We can get everyone out pretty early on the Sunday, because we know it's a Sunday. We know it's tough for people who got to work on Monday. What we do is you say, okay, you brought your 3 lists. You made the top cut. You made top 8. Good for you. And we've got prizes down to top 17. The 17th player gets a Biggs award, which might be the top Minoc award. You get the top 8 players. You say, okay, you can only play each of your lists once in the cut.
Okay.
So now there's like this really tough decision that you have to make.
In which order
Right?
do you have to play them?
Which order do you play them in? Because you don't get a choice in the final,
And you don't know what
but
your
you have the
matchups are
most
going to be.
choice at the
Top
semifinals at the top 8.
Yep.
Right? So do you play your go hard list in the top 8, and you get stuck with something you may not be as competitive or good with at the top? So there's another little like game for the top like competitive players to sort of like dig into,
Yeah.
right, when you get to that point. So
That's
and then
awesome.
we've got tons of participation prizes. I think we have 6 alt arts. You pick 3. We've got a bunch of early bird prizes. We've got prize tables. So every round, half the tables are chosen randomly to win, whether it's the loser or the winner gets a prize. And you get to go get something extra off the prize tables. I think last year we gave out over 300 prizes for about 80 people.
Wow, that's awesome.
This is why we caution Devin on using the term "making it rain." Okay.
Well,
it's all.
look, I have 200 Bosk making a phone calls from 1.0 that I just don't want in my house anymore. So those are just going to sit on a table the entire time.
You should make them rain.
If anybody wants Bosk making a phone call, just hit me up. Just slide into my DMs and let me know.
He'll pay the postage.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad that you guys. I'm glad that you guys are have put together such an awesome event. You guys have all this prize support. That's fantastic.
Well, Dion, what was your favorite thing about your recent event?
I mean, just the fact that, we were able to put together a community-run event that people enjoyed, and, I can't say that it went off without a hitch, but people had a good time, and that's all we're really looking for. We sold out X-Wing, which was my goal, and it was fantastic. So
good.
I'm excited.
I absolutely agree. I know the official FFG tournaments are very attractive, and I've been running community events in Warhammer and all of its adjacent games, and in other communities and sports since I was 13 or 14, since I was in high school. And I try to do them in legions, and people of age can drink, and luckily that's 18 in Canada or 19 in Canada. And these sorts of events are, and you've seen it in the U.S. with Crusade Against Cancer. I think if I'm going to get that right,
Campaign Against Cancer, yeah.
Campaign Against Cancer. These community events are extremely important to, especially if they're on the semi-competitive or partially casual or experimental side, right? Because we had Alex Davey and Frank Brooks talking about if there's demand for alternate formats, we'll see them.
Yeah.
And with 2.0 coming and with the possibilities of the app, I encourage people to put these together. And certainly there's the Crossroads Classic is happening close to us. The crates always have an interesting format. And
Outrider Cup is another
Outrider
one.
Cup. Thank you. That's the one that I was like struggling to reach for. Like there was these guys who were doing it before all of us, the Outrider Cup.
Yep, Chicago's a part of that.
Yeah.
So how does this work now? If you don't put your event in the app, it doesn't count?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Who cares?
That's all. I just did a full review on the app. You can go to our YouTube channel to look at that. And I go through piece by piece. It's about a half-hour review, but I really get into it. I don't know. there are no answers.
No, and we all wish FFG made different decisions, but I think a lot of us can understand why they make the decisions they do. And certainly the app, the competitive player asks, why is it this way? Why is it that way? Right? When the app isn't built for the competitive player, the app is built for everybody. It's built to be as inclusive and as friendly to a new player as to a returning player. And certainly I'm
Devin.
Yeah.
When was the last time you got a one-size-fits-all hockey jersey for free that fit just right?
Never.
have never fit something that was one size fit all.
And did you give the jersey back?
No, I mean, like, to hang on to it because it was free. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say.
Well, that's awesome. I think that's an awesome way to to close that
Jerseys are
out.
expensive, Tim.
Correct. You have them on the hanger and they look pretty. Well, gentlemen,
Yeah.
I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out, telling us about the PTL Open. I'm excited to see you guys at Coruscant. And before you go,
Thanks for having us.
no problem.
Sorry, Dion. I made this mistake before. To buy tickets and to learn about the PTL, go to flycasual.ca.
Thank you.
That's our new website. We just launched it.
Thanks for having us on, Dion, to plug
Thanks
our
for having
shit
us on.
shamelessly.
No problem.
And yeah, thanks for letting us plug our stuff. And if you want to buy tickets to the PTL Open, it's going to be a blast. We're in a Legion, so if you can walk up and down the stairs, you can get a drink. Thanks,
Take care.
Dion. Thank you so much for having us.